Once we computed all the cash flows in relation with a project, the second step in the calculation and the capital budgeting process is to compute what we call the criteria of investment choice, different metric that we need to compute for different purposes to compute, for example, the average accounting return of the project, the payback of the project, how many years we require to recover the initial investment, what is the net present value of the project. We will see with the meaning of net present value, what is the annual rate of return of the project. And these criteria will allow us to decide whether the project is acceptable or not. We will start with the first criterion called the average accounting rate of return. The average accounting rate of return will give you an idea about the average annual return based on accounting revenues. This is why we call it average accounting rate of return. Simply by dividing the average accounting revenue, which is the net income, average net income, annual net income, by the average investment. Be careful here in the application of this average accounting rate of return. Different analysts use different ratios. Some analysts use the average net income in the numerator, but in the denominator, they use the investment, initial investment only. Other analysts use the initial investment plus salvage value over 2. Other textbooks, sometimes in the textbooks, they take the initial investment minus the salvage value over 2. Each analyst عنده الريشيو نتاعو. It doesn't mean that واحد صحيح وواحد غلط، لا. But the interpretation هي اللي باش تبدل. Simply in our case, we will use this formula اللي هي the most used one اللي هو average net income over the average investment. The average investment اللي هو يسميوه the average book value اللي هو البوك فاليو نتاعك الاولانيه اللي هو الانيشال انفستمنت plus the salvage value over 2. هذا what we will use in our course. معناها تلقى فورمولا اخرى في كتاب اخر، مش معناها الكتاب الاخر غلط ولا احنا غلطين، حد ما هو غلط. Okay. Assume a company invests 200,000 in a project that is depreciated straight line over a 5-year life to a zero salvage value. معناتها salvage value هي 0 والinitial amount investment هو 200,000. معناتها الافريج بوك فاليو والinitial investment plus book value الاخرانيه نتاعك اللي هي 0 over 200 over 2. والaverage net income is provided in the next table. شنو نلقى فيه؟ نلقى sales minus expenses minus depreciation minus the taxes. تلقى net income. The average net income هو the sum of the annual net income over 5. تلقى 18,000 على 100 اللي هي 18%. It means that in average our annual return is 18%. معناتها for an average investment of $1, the return is 18% of the dollar. هما $0.18. هوني this accounting rate of return, we need to know it, but in the real life it's not frequent to use it because it has many limitations. عنده advantage واحد اللي هو is simply to compute, simple to compute and to understand. هذا الافريج accounting revenue نتاعك بالبرسنتج قداش. But limitation عندنا different weaknesses. The first one, we said that in the capital budgeting process, we base our analysis on cash flows, not on incomes, accounting incomes. Only we use the average net income. We ignore the fact that the depreciation is a non-cash charge. We have to add it back. So هذه الغلطة الأولانية. The second mistake and limitation is that we are computing an average net income. We add net income 1, 2, 3, 4 each other, then we divide by 5. We assume a dollar 1 year from now is equal to a dollar 2 years from now, equal to a dollar 5 years from now. We ignored the time value of money, principle اللي قلناه في chapter 1. Also, we have different ways of computing the average accounting rate of return. As I said, some analysts use the initial investment in the denominator. Instead of 100, they use 200 in this case. So the average accounting rate of return will be half of 18%, 9%. Which one is correct? This is why we don't use it too much, average accounting rate of return. To correct the first limitation here, the use of incomes instead of cash flows, we will use another method, if you want, that focuses the analysis on the cash flows instead of the accounting incomes, and we call it the regular payback period. The payback period is simply the number of years we require to recover the initial cost of the project. We need to compute the number of years we need to get our money back. How to compute it? Simply, if you take two projects L and F, draw your timeline. You invest 100 at the date 0, you receive 10, 60, 80 each year. To compute after how many years you recover the initial 100, simply compute the cumulative cash flow. Cumulative cash flows means cash flow of year 0 plus cash flow of year 1 minus 100 plus 10, you'll get minus 90. Minus 90 plus 60, minus 30. Did you recover your initial investment? Of course no, because the cumulative is still negative. You need a cumulative cash flow of 0 to say that we totally recover the initial investment. Minus 30 plus 80, you have plus 50. We note here that we recover the initial investment between year 2 and year 3. We will call, or we say that here we note that we recover our initial investment between year 2 and year 3. So we will use a principle in finance called the linear interpolation system. We will use it in many other criteria principle of it. How to determine exactly the number of years that coincides with cumulative cash flow of 0 to say that we are exactly recovering our initial investment. Knowing that after years, the cumulative cash flow is minus 30. After 3 years, the cumulative cash flow is 50. What is the payback? The exact number of years at which the cumulative cash flow is 0. له negative, له positive. Here, according to the linear interpolation, the unknown number of years, the payback, minus 2 صغير فيهم, over the difference between the two extremes, 3 minus 2, must equal in finance the corresponding cumulative cash flow of the first amount, payback. The corresponding بتاعه هو 0. payback قريب لها 0 cumulative. عندك minus 2, donc minus اللي قابل 2 هو شنو؟ 2 قبلها cumulative of minus 3, it will be minus 30 over 3 After 3 years, the cumulative is 50. We put 50. We put minus. You have to respect the signs. Minus 2. After 2 years, we have cumulative of minus 30. We put minus 30. It means payback minus 2 over 3 minus 2 is equal to 30 over 80. It means payback is equal to minus 2 2 plus the denominator 3 minus 2 times ratio there 30 over 80. أعطيك 2 plus 30 over 80. 2 plus 30 over 80. شنو هي 2 plus 30 over 80؟ هذه رول باش تعطينا فورمولا. 2 plus 30 over 80. 30 over 30 هي شنو هي؟ 30 هي minus the cumulative of your 2. وال 80 هي الكاش فلو of your 3. دونك كأنه ولات عندي payback هو 2 years, the last date at which the cumulative is negative 2 minus the cumulative of the same date 2. Donc 2 minus cumulative of 2 over cash flow of your 3 اللي هي شنو هي؟ n minus cumulative n over cash flow n plus 1. Donc وليت عندي الفورمولا هذه that will allow you to compute directly the payback. How? If you call n the date at which you have the last negative cumulative cash flow. n plus 1 هو the date اللي فيها the first positive cumulative cash flow. It means that the payback is between n and n plus 1. To compute the payback directly يا اما تستعمل اللينير انتربوليشن يا اما الفورمولا هذه اللي جايه من اللينير انتربوليشن يا بيت اللي هي n minus cumulative n, very important, n minus cumulative n over cash flow n plus 1 مش cumulative cash flow. Cash flow of n plus 1. Donc 2 minus cumulative of 2 هو minus 30 over cash flow n plus 1 هو 80. تعطيك 2.375 years. 2.375 years هما 2 years و 0.375 years times 12 months per year يعطيك 4.5 months. 4.5 months نحي 4 تقاطك 0.5 months. 0.5 months times 30 days per month تلقى 15 days. This is how to convert years into years, day, months and days. هوني payback of the project L is 2 years, 4 months, 15 days. If we apply the same principle to the project S, you get 1 year, 7 months, 6 days. It means we recover our initial investment after 2 years, 4 months, 15 days for the project L, 1 year, 7 months, 6 days for the project S. Decision rule now depends on the information available and on the feature of the project. Can the projects نتاعنا are independent? Independent معناتها we can accept all the projects that satisfy the conditions نتاعنا. ونقولوا اللي for example we need all the projects اللي الريكفري نتاعهم يصير قبل 2.5 years. We will accept both. خاطر الزوز يرجعوا لنا فلوسنا قبل عامين ونص. If the projects are mutually exclusive, we need to choose only one project. في الكيس هذايا نقولوا نختاروا البروجكت اللي الباي باك نتاعو اقل من الاخر، يرجع لي الفلوس قبل الاخر. في الكيس نتاعنا هذايا قال لنا راهو we need at maximum 2 years to recover the project initial cost. نلقاو اللي only the second project satisfies the condition نتاعنا. Donc we accept S, we reject L. هل payback الريجولار payback period هذا عنده advantages اللي هو simply to compute and to understand how much it takes to cover the initial investment. اما عندك weaknesses برشا فيه اللي هما شنو؟ صحيح we focus our analysis on the cash flows instead of the accounting income. But here, the use of this payback, the calculation, ايش قاعدين نعملوا؟ We compute a cumulative cash flow. We add cash flow 0 to cash flow 1, to cash flow 2 to cash flow 3, or the dollars 1 year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, مش كيف. So ignoring the time value of money is a big mistake هوني في الفاينانس. So we need to correct هالcriterion هذين. شنو باش نعملوا؟ To take into consideration the time value of money. شنو باش نعمل؟ I will compute the value at the date 0 of cash flow 1, cash flow 2, cash flow 3 before computing the cumulative cash flow there. To compute the value at the date 0 of a future cash flow, we need a discount rate. وهوني باش نرجع لك الحكايه اللي كنا نقولوا فيها. In the calculation of the cash flows, ignore the financing costs because you will take them into consideration later when you compute some criteria of investment decision. Donc, a discount rate that we will use to compute the value today of 10 هذوما وال value today of 60 value today of 80 at the date 0. الديسكاونت ريت هذاك باش ندخلوا فيه هاك الانترست charges والinterest rate والcost of the capital used to finance the project. So to correct this regular payback, to take into consideration the time value of money, we will compute what we call the discounted payback period. A discounted payback period discounts the cash flows before computing the cumulative cash flows. هذا هو البرنسبل نتاعو. So here we need a discount rate. How we will call it a discount rate? This discount rate is called the required rate of return. Triple R, RRR, required rate of return. This is the required rate of return by the investors to accept to finance this project, to accept to realize this project. For example, الانفسترز هذوما جاوا يشوفوا يلقاو اللي the money that they will use in this project الكوست نتاعو هو 10%، تكلف لهم 10%. Or if they will not use this money in this project, if they choose to invest their money in another project, they can earn only 10%. Donc her required rate of return ينجم يكون an opportunity cost، ينجم يكون هو cost of the money used to finance the project. هو يسميوه the hurdle rate reference اللي نستعملوها to compute the value today of any future cash flow. Donc باش نحسب present value نتاع 10، present value of 60، present value of 80 using the present value of a lump sum. وباش نحط 10 this is its present value at the date 0. ما انا باش نحطها في ال1 to say that this is the cash flow 1, present value of cash flow 1. This is present value of cash flow 2 at the date 0. Present value of the cash flow 3 at the date 0. Then we compute the cumulative cash flow and we apply the formula نتاعو. تلقاو the discounted payback اللي هو بيدو البايباك. أما before computing the cumulative cash flow we compute the present value of the different cash flows to be able to make their sum together. Where interpretation is the same. After how many years we recover our initial investment. But limitation نتاع this criterion now. إنه we stop our analysis at the date when we recover the initial investment نتاعنا. Donc two projects ينجم يكونوا compare this project تبعوني مليح في اللي باش نقولوا توا. عندك كاش فلو هذايا تاع البروجكت نتاعنا minus 100 يجيب لك 10 60 80. Suppose اللي عندك another project اللي هو عنده minus 100 10 60 80 وعندك fourth cash flow 100 داخل 100 اخر. البايباك of these two projects اللي هو discounted payback will be the same. Both projects will allow you to recover your initial investment after 2.7 years. أما البروجكت الثاني will generate for you a fourth cash flow 100. alors que البروجكت الاولاني ما عندوش cash flow 4 0 في الديت 4. Donc the fact that we ignore the cash flows that occur after the payback period ولا the discounted payback period هذه limitation كبيرة. خاطر you focus كان عليها وقتاش you recover your initial investment. ما يهمكش في شنو باش يجيك من بعد. Donc logically the two projects اللي كنت نحكي عليهم are identical. According to the discounted payback they are identical, but logically the second project اللي عنده أكثر cash flows في اليور 4 ولا يور 5 ولا هو باش يكون خير. Donc هوني الليميتيشن اللي هي we ignore the cash flows that occur after the discounted payback period باش نصلحوها by taking into consideration the present value of all the cash flows, not only the cash flows حتى ال discounted payback period. When we take the present value of all the cash flows يولي اسمه الكرايتيريان net present value. هو present value of all the cash flows. تاخذ كل cash flow تعمل له present value نتاعو وتلمهم all the inflows minus the initial investment. يسميوها the net present value اللي هي present value of all the cash flows net to say that the positive minus the negative. The inflows minus the outflows. يسميوها net present value. This is the most important, the most used criterion in finance. هذا هي أكثر criterion we use in finance في الكابيتال budgeting في الvaluation في أي حاجة باش تقراها في الفاينانس. So you need to understand it. I repeat, the net present value, which is a very simple criterion. How simply all the cash flows generated by the project, add them together. عامل لهم sum نتاعهم. Regardless of sign, positive or negative, cash flow 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 until n, make their sum. But to be able to make their sum in finance, you need to compute their value at the same date. اللي هي logically which date? The date of the investment. To that, discount all the cash flows and make their sum. This is why we call it the DCF criterion, discounted cash flow. We discount the cash flows, DCF, discounted cash flows, or net present value. So, how to compute it? كما قلنا, take the cash flow of each year, discount it using the required rate of return, the discount rate, then make their sum. And add the cash flow 0 while subtract investment 0, I0. For the project L and project K we have, and the cash flows 10, 60, 80, 30, 40, 50, we can't make the sum without discounting the cash flows. We need to discount each cash flow to compute its value at the date 0 to be able to compare it with cash flow 0. We find 18.79 minus 2.10 for project L, project K respect. شو باش نقولوا هون؟ تبع معايا مليح the meaning of this criterion. It's very important to understand the meaning. First of all, when you discount each cash flow by 10% before making the sum, it means that from each cash flow you subtracted first the cost of the capital used to be able to generate this cash flow, to be able to invest in this project. You require 10% return. So you subtract, when you make the discount process, you eliminate the interest. You eliminate what you want to earn first. You require 10%. So first of all, the calculation of NPV, when you discount, it means that you eliminate the 10 that you require. A positive NPV means that in addition to the 10% required, you covered the 100, the initial investment. And in addition to this initial investment recovered, and in addition to the 10% return that you want to get, your wealth will increase by $18.79 million, for example, in this first case. معناتها بالفلات رجعت ال 100 وفوق ال 100 عندي 10% return نحب ناخذهم to cover the cost of the money used to finance the project, for example, to cover what I could earn on alternative investments, some opportunity cost. And in addition to this, my wealth will increase if I choose this project. The value of today by $18.79 million. Is the project profitable or no according to the NPV? Yes, it is. Because I require 10%, I will get these 10. I invested 100, I will recover the 100. And in addition to this, what the project will generate for me in the future, cover the 10%, cover the $100 million invested, and I will get $18.79 million, the value of today, of course. This is the increase in my wealth if I accept to finance, to realize the project L. For the project K now, I require 10% return to cover all the costs, the financial costs. So first of all, we need to discount all the future cash flows by 10%. Then we subtract the initial investment. I find a negative NPV. It means that if we take into consideration the cost of the money used, what I require from this project, the 10%, I can't cover the initial investment. Is the project profitable or no? Of course, no. Will my wealth increase or decrease if I accept the project K? My wealth will decrease by $2.1 million. So the project K is not profitable. We will not earn the 10% we require. We don't even earn the 10%. Okay? Here, we earn the 10%, and in addition to the 10% return, you get $18.79 million net increase in your wealth. Here, you don't even get the 10% return because the NPV is negative. When the NPV is 0, it means that you exactly earn 10% return. انت ربحت ال 10% return نتاعك اكاو حاجتك 10% return, you get the 10% return نتاعك. NPV is 0. خذيت ال 10% return نتاعك بال 10% return you covered your initial investment. Voilà. Donc طلعت رابح 10% return when the NPV is 0 at 10%, of course. So the decision rule is to accept the project if the NPV is positive or 0. حتى 0 تنجم تقول اي انا I require 10%. When NPV is 0, I get the 10%. Donc I accept the project. We reject the project if the NPV is negative. If the NPV is negative, في الكيس هذايا اللي هو an ordinary case فيه negative cash flow followed by positive cash flow, نسميوه normal cash flow stream. When the NPV نتاعك is negative, it means that you didn't earn the 10% you require. And this is the decision rule. If you have mutually exclusive projects, you choose the project with the highest positive NPV. If you have independent projects, you choose all the projects with a positive NPV. As simple as that. Right. The last criterion, the strengths and weaknesses. The strength is that all the cash flows are taken into consideration. The timing of the cash flows is considered. The required rate of return اللي هو opportunity cost اللي هو discount rate اللي هو cost of the money used to finance the project is taken into consideration. But we will see it next year in corporate finance course, the weaknesses of this MPV and how to correct these weaknesses. اللي هو according to the discount rate, the MPV is very sensitive. خاطر كان تاخذ وانت تعاود تحسب ال MPV ب 20% discount rate حتى اللي كان positive يولي negative. Donc the MPV is very sensitive to the choice of the discount rate. وهوني باش نشوفوا how to choose the appropriate discount rate. كيف ال MPV نتاعنا can't allow us to compare project with different initial investments or different lives. واحد 3 سنين والاخر 5 سنين. ال MPV تنجم تغلطني في الكيس هذايا. هذوما مش باش نشوفوهم today in this course. We will see this next year في an advanced course اللي هو corporate finance. نشوفوا ال weaknesses هذوما how to correct them, the conflicts how to correct them. هال MPV هذه هي بيدها لقيتوها $18.79 million. MPV when we take into consideration cash flow 1, 2, 3, all the cash flows for the project L, we discount them and we subtract the initial investment. باش تلقاها وين تلقاها هون. كيف ترجع للديسكاونتد باي باك 18.79 هو the last cumulative cash flow. خاطر cash flow 0 plus cash flow 1 discounted plus cash flow 2 discounted plus cash flow 3 discounted. باش تلقى ال MPV هي الكاش فلو 3 discounted كي تاخذ حتى الاخر كاش فلو الكوميولاتيف اوف لاست يير 18.79. دونك ال MPV السورس نتاعها هي discounted باي باك when we push the analysis حتى the last year when we take into consideration all the cash flows نتاعها. وتو نشوفوها من بعد اللي the discounted payback هو the date at which the MPV is zero. خاطر ال MPV موجوده لهنا في الكيومولاتيف. هذه هي ال MPV today, MPV after 1 year, MPV after 2 years. ما كنت ناخذ into consideration 2 cash flows, MPV when we take into consideration 3 cash flows. ال MPV في الديت هذايا is zero after 2.7 years. MPV is zero. دونك نقولوا ال discounted payback is the date at which the MPV is zero. تنرجعوا لهم بعد في application. Let's finish with the last criterion that we will cover today. مازال عندنا criterion داخل IRR تنشوفوه المرة الجاية. The profitability index. So this profitability index. Profitability index is a relative measure of the MPV. ال MPV تعطيك the increase in your wealth بالdollars. How many dollars you will get in your wealth as increase in your wealth. If you discount, if you choose this process, if you discount all the cash flows and you subtract your initial investment, هذيك ال MPV بالدولارز. The profitability index هي another measure of the MPV, another approach, but it is a relative approach. علاش؟ خاطر باش تاخذ ال MPV and you divide it by the initial investment. And you add one. كيف تعمل هكا كأنك خديت the present value of the future cash flows and you divide them by the initial investment. كيما هون شعملنا هوني the present value of the future cash flows, cash flow 1, 2, 3 عملنا the sum and we subtract the cash flow 0. لا هوني we will not subtract the cash flow 0. The sum of cash flow 1, 2, 3 discounted will be divided by cash flow 0, divided by investment 0 to be more precise. Donc شو عملنا هوني if you take the present value of all the cash flows and you divide by the initial investment اللي هو equivalent to dividing the MPV by the initial investment and you adding the one. خاطر present value of the cash flows هذيا نتاعنا هي MPV plus initial investment. Donc تلقى 1 plus net present value over initial investment. هذا شيء يعطينا an idea about for each dollar invested in this project, in the denominator, how many dollars this project will generate for you. For each dollar invested, how many dollar of the numerator. شو معناتها؟ معناتها each dollar invested will be recovered, and in addition to this dollar recovered, how many dollars you will receive as extra wealth by dollar invested. دونك باش يكون البروجكت نتاعك بروفيتابل شنو لازم؟ لازم profitability index يكون higher than 1. معناتها you recover the dollar invested and you have a positive NPV. باش تكون higher than 1 profitability index لازم ال NPV تكون positive. Of course, the initial investment is positive. You don't invest a negative thing. Denominator net positive. هذا ما يكون higher than 1 كان the NPV is positive. هكا علاش ال profitability index وال NPV. The profitability index is higher than 1 only if the NPV is positive. هكا علاش the decision rule for only one project is the same. NPV is positive, it means that the profitability index is higher than 1. حاجة أخرى, remark, in some textbooks and some analysts compute the profitability index by dividing NPV by the initial investment only, not present value of cash flows. NPV over initial investment. They ignore the +1 here. It's not false. But كل واحد والapproach نتاعو. واحد يحب يشوف per each dollar invested what is the NPV per dollar invested. وواحد باش يقول I recovered the dollar and in addition to the dollar what is my NPV. انت كل واحد كيفاش الكونستراكشن نتاع هالاندكس هذا عنده. دونك مش واحده صحيحه واحده غلطه. Here an investment project had an outlay of 60 million euros. A present value of the future cash flows, cash flow 1, 2, 3 until n, their present value is 63.136 million euros. It means that the NPV, اللي هي present value of future cash flows minus initial outlay, is 13.136 million euros. What is the profitability index of this project? We can use present value of the future cash flows over initial outlay, or 1 plus NPV over initial outlay. You will get 1.26. It means that for each euro invested in this project, you will get the euro, you will receive the euro back, and in addition, you have 0.26 euro of extra wealth per euro واحد, مش per dollar. مش dollar invested, euro, كلهم euro واحد صلحوها. For each euro, you'll get the euro plus 0.26. هذا ال profitability index. Profitability index and NPV in general, they lead to the same accept and reject rule. Because the profitability index is greater than 1 only if the NPV is positive. Of course, even this criterion suffers from some limitation. This will not allow us to compare different projects with different initial investments when we have mutually exclusive projects. If you need to choose only one project and the initial investment is not the same, the use of the profitability index can mislead us. But this profitability index is very helpful when we need to make an investment in independent projects with limited resources. Donc عندي limited resources ونحب نعمل أكثر NPV ممكن بالزيد these limited resources. This will not be covered في الكورس نتاعنا هذا. We will cover them next year في corporate finance. باش نشوفوا problems when we have different projects. عندي 10 projects وعندي $1 million. هال $1 million هذوما what is the best combination between project the 10 projects اللي نجم نعملهم بال $1 million. كيفاش نختار بين ال 10 هذوما انهم البروجكتس that satisfy الليميتيشن نتاعي نتاع الريسورس اللي هي الريسورس كونسترينت نتاع $1 million maximum initial investment واللي تعطيني the maximum NPV possible. هوني باش نرجعوا للبروفيتابيلتي اندكس. هذا will be covered next year. السنه مش نخدموه. السنه باش نخاطر في الكورس هذايا عندنا جماعه باش تختار ميجر ماركتينغ، جماعه باش تختار ميجر اي تي، جماعه باش تختار ميجر اكاونتينغ، جماعه ميجر بي اي. مش يستحقوا هالديتيلز هذوما. اللي باش يعمل بعتلي فاينانس ميجر فاينانس ولا ماينر فاينانس تو يقرا الكوربوريت فاينانس وتو نقرا نوريكم how to use هالتكنيكس هذوما how to use a profitability index when we have a problem with resource constraint, capital budgeting with resource constraint. هوني جوست افهم اللي profitability index هي present value of future cash flows over initial investment. It will show you per dollar invested how many dollars this project will generate for you. As simple as that. Okay, so we will stop here. Next week we will finish this chapter. We have just the internal rate of return and real options, but then we will move to the chapter 3 and we'll try to finish it. Chapter 3 مش طويل. Okay, I hope it is clear. If you have questions, I'm here to answer you.